And then we went from, thank you, I went from that very confused, small thinking guy to talking to Paul, and Paul just took me from like that to another level. So it's exciting to have you again on the call, Paul. And Arinze that just joined us. Arinze, thank you so much for joining. Arinze, product, business analyst, worked with one of the fastest, of the one of the biggest companies out there. Yeah,
Thank you very
everyone
much.
admires it, right? Everyone wants to be with Barclays. So thank you so much, Ariza, for joining,
Thank you very
and thank
much.
you for joining Paul. So what we're going to do quickly, I'm going to quickly introduce you guys to Utiva, because I want to believe that the larger number of people that are following us probably do not know what we do at Utiva. So I will spend 1, 2 minutes to just talk a little bit about what we do here, the work that we do, the essence of the work, why that work is very important, yada yada yada, and then we can take things from there. So think about Utiva as three things, right? The Utiva Learn, which is the platform that helps you to learn whatever technology skill you would like to learn and accelerate how you transition to global jobs. Now, skills like data science, cybersecurity, cloud computing, product management, product and digital marketing, UI, UX design, all the skills with some sort of like build the environment to help you to learn the skill. And learning at Utiva means three things. It means you're learning through a dedicated coach that will coach your class. Number two, you're learning with other people that are also growing like you. But number three, which is the part that I am more excited about, is that we are actually preparing you for local and international jobs. And that's what learning means at Utiva. The second thing we do at Utiva is that, guys, we're actually now helping companies that are based in the global north, companies based in the global north to access the best of the talent in the global south. Right. And that's one of the things that we are very, very committed to. We're committed to helping the best of the companies to find the best of talent, regardless of where that talent is based. And you and I know that talents are based everywhere, but opportunities are not. So think about us as the guys that are solving that logistical problem of helping the companies to find you because you are the best talent, for the world. And the third one, I'm going to keep the third one for the later, because I don't want to keep our guests waiting. Again, today, gentlemen and ladies, we want to really just immerse ourselves into, what is happening out there and how do you better position, for the great opportunities out there? Because usually we all think about great opportunities in terms of jobs. Well, maybe we should think about great opportunities in terms of however the opportunity presents itself. So we're going beyond the basic. And my two guests today, number one is going to be Paul, number two is going to be Arize. I want to pass the baton to them and I want to get them to spend time and share with us. I think we're going to start with Paul, right? Wumi, and then we go to Arize. Is that good?
Yeah.
Great. Paul, over to you.
Great, Teo.
Nice
Thanks
to
so
see you
much.
again.
You too, and delighted to be here. I'm going to just make sure I'm able to pull up a slide or two here. Da, 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 da.
Correct. I just made you the host.
Okay, just bear with me for 2 seconds. It should pop up here. Just trying to. There we go. Okay, there we go. Is that showing up? Okay.
That's good.
Yes, we have your screen up. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks for your patience. You'd think after a career in tech, I should be able to do this with my eyes closed, but it still takes a second. Great. So listen, I want to take maybe just a few minutes and go through, just a little bit of my background, and Teo, what you say about connecting talent to where the opportunities are. I've seen that my entire career, and judging by the grayness of my hair and the baldness, that's a long career. So I've seen this happen a lot, and we are very much in a global market, a global economy. It doesn't actually matter where you are. It's all about being connected and who you know and what you know, and then making those connections. So I'm just going to give you a little context here. Um, Before I jump in, just like real time, this came up in my news feed this morning out of the LA Times. You kind of think somewhere like Stanford University, you get a degree from there in computer science, you can write your ticket. And, just the change happening in the marketplace right now. They're saying, for example, tech companies are now, instead of hiring 10 junior developers, hiring 2 experienced engineers and an AI agent. So, this is kind of crazy times. I know a lot of people are freaking out and thinking, you know, what should I be studying? What should I be learning? What development skills? One thing I've seen over the last 30 years, this change is always happening. Is it more pronounced now? Absolutely. But it just means it's all the more critical that you have your eyes open, that you're adaptable to change, that you're willing to continuously learn and build new skills. So while this is kind of, you see headlines like this, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, I think it was Winston Churchill that once said, never miss the opportunity that a crisis presents. So even big challenging changes like this, it favors those who are willing to adapt. So a little bit about me, just quickly, because you're kind of wondering why in the heck, would Teo have this guy on there, other than just as a kind of a nod for this mentorship that we were part of 5 or 6 years ago, which is fantastic. I'll come back to that. Um, there's a couple principles that I've picked up over my time. And I touched on one already. A mindset of curiosity, of continuously learning, that will get you further in your career than anything else. I see far too many people, whether they're just starting in their career or the people that are as gray and old as me, that if you stop being curious, if you stop trying to think of new ways of doing things and asking questions, that's when things, really slow down. The most successful people that I've seen at any stage in their career are those that are constantly asking questions, constantly trying to learn more, rather than saying, "Oh yeah, I've got the answers already." Second one, and again touched on this, it's two sides of a coin. Being open to being mentored, and then giving back as well, and and mentoring others. And again, I find that while where I'm at in my career now, I'm maybe doing a lot more mentoring than I was earlier in my career, but I'm still learning. I still have mentors at my stage in my career as well. It's just something that fits right back into the first point I made about continuous learning and continuous development. That's one of the best ways that I've found, is entering into mentoring and mentee relationships. Last 2 ones I'm just going to mention here again that I've kind of picked up my pro tips here. As as a species, this goes back to coming out of the caves, fight or flight. We want to put things in boxes. It's black or it's white. It's yes or it's no. It's good or it's bad. And the reality is that there's a lot of gray areas, and there's a lot of, focus in the middle. So you hear people talking about, oh, build STEM skills or build AI skills. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing liberal arts and soft skills as well. Is it tech? Is it AI going to take away people's jobs? It's actually augmentation. It's tech enabling people. Strategic or operational, it's another one I hear all the time of, oh, this person is really strategic. They don't know what's going on, down in the trenches or on the ground. You got to do both, global and local. And this goes right back. I'm going to touch on it in a second, where I came from. People didn't believe that you could have innovative tech companies in the middle of the U.S. out in the agriculture land, but we have one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. for 7 years running. So it's, again, think local, but look global as well. Everyone talks about innovation, especially in business and especially in the tech sector. Innovation to me is about never settling. It's, again, continuous improvement. So just keep looking how you can improve yourself, how you can improve the organization that you're working with, how you can improve customer experience, for the customers that you're serving. Never settle. There's always an opportunity to improve. Okay, so I mentioned briefly, where I'm sitting now in the west of Ireland, but I'm from the States originally in South Dakota, right smack dab in the middle. And I had no particular interest in computers, in working in big companies. And it was really serendipity that this little upstart company just down the road from where I grew up uh, had a very visionary founder CEO. He dropped out of college. He saw an opportunity first to sell spare parts for PCs, and then actually to start a PC assembly business. Completely disrupted the PC industry back in the late 80s and early 90s. When the idea of calling up on a toll-free number, talking to someone you'd never seen, giving your credit card number over the phone for a $2,000 or $3,000 computer and having that shipped to you. That was just insane to most people at the time. But it became the fastest growing company in the U.S. and stayed that way for 7 years running. Uh, Again, I can only chalk it up to luck and serendipity that I was in the right place at the right time and had an opportunity, to start first as an intern with Gateway. I was working in the sales department, helping the head of sales, but really had a love of marketing. And literally just one day when my shift got done, went over, kind of knocked on the door of the marketing department and said, "Hey, I get done at 2 o'clock every day. I start at 7. I get done at 2. I can still hang around and work if you've got anything for me to do." And boom, that turned into an opportunity right there. Um, what I learned from that early stage, and even just seeing Ted Waite, the founder CEO, see an opportunity and go after it. No one's really gonna wait and hand something to you. Really think about when you see an opportunity, you've got to go and ask. You've got to go after it. That again is something that I see time and time again throughout my career. That's what makes the difference, for people that are really successful in their careers. Um, going to touch on this just briefly. Something that I picked up along the way, and it kind of goes back to this idea of continuous improvement and continuous learning. I came across, like, working in the tech sector for 30 plus years now, a lot of change, a lot of disruption. And we had lots of consultants coming in at different times and, trying to help, leadership and boards, make changes, whether it's buying companies or just going through the integration and things like that. But this idea of conscious competence, and I've found personally, as you're picking up new skills along the ways, this holds true. This doesn't apply just to someone starting their career, doesn't apply to someone just in HR. This affects us all. And you kind of go through 4 stages. You don't know what you don't know. That's unconscious incompetence. You realize what you don't know. And then that gives you kind of the hunger, to actually learn and develop and become competent at something. And then unconscious competence, it's the things that you do without even thinking about it. And I'll give you an example. For me, throughout my career, people have said, geez, you're pretty good at communicating with people. I don't know if that's true or not, but they say, you just know how to do it. You know how to, connect with your audience, and you have the right messages, da, da, da. So it's, again, these are things that, whether it's tech skills, communication skills, management skills, you want to be conscious of what are the things that really matter that can make you successful. And it's a whole, it's not, you can't just be technical. You can't just be, management oriented. You've got to have all of these different skills, and you need to be continuously improving them. So this is just one handy thing that I always come back to, of saying, where am I at? Do I know what I don't know? And am I getting better at the things that I need to get better at as well? Okay. Another old guy, older than me. Uh, I have admired Richard Branson, the founder CEO of Virgin Group, and so many different companies within that. He is a real, natural entrepreneur, But if you don't know the story about Richard Branson, he had a hard time growing up. He was dyslexic and, really struggled in school because, just like people didn't recognize, that it was harder to learn if you're dyslexic. But here's a guy who, again, just amazing ambition and tenacity and grit, to build businesses that no one thought was possible. And I just shared this quote from him because a lot of times, you hear people saying, "Oh, it's not who you know, it's what you know." Uh, the reality is, it's both. And I find again, whether it's when I started my career at Gateway, moving on to Compaq and then HP, and then into management consulting. Uh, it's almost a given that you have to have core competency skills, but it's the relationships that you build that actually open the doors and create the opportunities to get in front of the right people to show what you know as well. And that's something, again, I think sometimes it's seen as, oh, that's, you got to just be a natural at that. And there's some people that are just naturally good at making connections. Like any other, just like a technical skill, you can develop capabilities here, and you've got to do that if you're going to be successful in your career. Um, I kind of I kind of laugh at this one a little bit. Sometimes, especially in the tech industry, oh, we've got an app, we've got a platform. A lot of times, when you're starting out with things like this, tech becomes the crutch or the excuse. And I just show this here as an example of some of the most successful people that I know in terms of networking and relationship building are still very old school. That's not saying they don't use tech, but they're sitting there writing notes. They're using whiteboards. They're using post-it notes. This is again back to what I was saying about the blend. It doesn't have to be an either or. Use tech, where it makes sense to use it, but don't rely so heavily on it that you can't do what I call the old-fashioned way or the analog way in that as well. And I just kind of making this point as well from my own network, friends and colleagues that have become friends. When Teo had asked me to come and talk to everyone on this, I reached out to folks in my network, people that are just ultimate techies, as well as people that are senior management, people that are young in their career, as well as people that are well seasoned in that as well. And again, what it kind of struck with me is you kind of step back and if you cultivate those relationships and you keep those relationships instead of just thinking transactionally, oh, I'm working with so and so right now I've moved on to something else and I forget about them. Keep those relationships. It doesn't mean you've got to be calling someone every day or every week or every month, but as you make those contacts, as you build those relationships throughout your career, don't just kind of drop them off the edge of the earth. Establish those contacts and keep them, even if it's down to holidays. You're sending an end of year, hey, I hope you had a great year, hope to see you next year, and that as well. So cultivate those relationships because they're absolutely invaluable. And let me just turn it here. It's everyone who's part of the Utiva community. Even if you're just starting now and you're just coming on and participating in some of these courses, if you stop and look at the size of the network, and I just as an example, I just took this screenshot of these are some of the the tech companies that folks from Utiva are working at. Go back to this idea of 6 degrees of separation. They say we're connected to everyone on the planet within 6 people. There is a huge network here. And I dare to say any company that you dream of working with, there's someone in the Utiva network, that not only works there, but can probably get you, a conversation, get you in front of a hiring manager. So again, tap into those communities, those networks that you're already part of, but start putting in the time and building those relationships and leveraging that as well. I will throw a little warning though, And I take this from, kind of a famous guy who's become a bestseller author, Adam Grant. This was also a wake-up call to me. You kind of hope and think that everyone out there, is going to help you out, and you want to help people as well. Uh, this really struck me, when Adam Grant was talking about this idea of, people fall into kind of three buckets. They're givers, they're takers, or they're matchers. Now, the givers and the takers, I think those are fairly intuitive. The matchers are kind of interesting ones. This is, people will be willing to help you out, but they're saying, what are you going to do for me? The other, I think, important thing is by and far the most people out there are matchers or takers. And it's just, again, it's kind of that eyes wide open. People will be willing to help you, but they might be looking for something in return. And you just got to, again, be kind of clear and open and manage the situation rather than just, kind of being naively hopeful that, hey, I want to do this and someone's going to help me out to achieve that. Okay. This one is a little bit of an eye chart, but I go back to the continuous learning of saying, go back to the first slide that I showed there about the LA Times and AI. I've seen these sorts of slides from the likes of McKinsey and World Economic Forum all throughout my career. It's good to kind of have that big picture of what are the trends, what's changing, and particularly around skills in the workforce. We're going through huge change now. Teo had mentioned, we first met right before COVID. I mean, to look at what happened with COVID and remote working, which, for our industry, and all of a sudden, companies saying, hey, I can hire a really talented person anywhere in the world, and we've got the technology and the capabilities now that remote working is no big deal. So a lot of change, even though we hear, some CEOs talking about return to office, that was a huge change that made a lot of people who thought I need people working for me in the same physical proximity that are now saying, oh, wait, I'm open to top talent because we have the technology. I can connect with people anywhere in the world. So it's really important. Look at the big picture, see the trends, and just having an idea too of how you keep moving and continuously developing your own skills and capabilities as well. Just about wrapped here. I want to come back to role models, mentors, and even colleagues. There's a few different people here that I just wanted to share. It's kind of, I find it funny that having worked decades in the tech industry, I would have people say, oh, geez, can you get me a discount on a laptop or a printer? Can you fix my laptop or my network? I worked in the tech sector, but I'd never, claimed to be a tech guy. But I've seen now for 30 plus years, the impact. You talk about digital transformation. We are living in a very digital world, and it's amazing. And there's so many fantastic things that tech has done for us. Some of the most amazing tech projects that I've worked on, have involved, for example, the first picture here, the late Dr. Paul Farmer, and the state-of-the-art teaching hospital in Mirebalais in central Haiti. In my career, that's the tech project. It's not even a tech project; it's just tech-enabled. That's the biggest tech project, that I'm most proud of because of the impact that it's had. And we weren't settling for lowest common denominator, minimum viable, solution. This is a state-of-the-art teaching hospital in central Haiti. And some of the other folks that I have here that I've worked with, Edu Gustala was at the Foundation Paraguay, Poverty Stoplight worldwide, over 500,000 families, through a tech platform and enablement. Jackson Hungu, who was at Unitate and before that at Clinton Health Access, Tamer Karan, working with Save the Children and Media Labs in Jordan and a number of other folks. But I just put on here, these are people who were not only, colleagues and clients, but through the work that we did together, we forged, very solid, strong relationships, became friends in most cases in that as well. And this is again back to use the opportunity. Don't look at, life and your career as, well, here's work and here's personal. I'm back to the blend in the gray areas of, you know, fantastic opportunities, to learn and grow, develop professional and personal relationships, and continue to learn from people that not only are friends but are also professional colleagues in that as well. So back to Richard Branson, it's about connections, it's about relationships, as well as what you continue to do to continuously build, your technical and your professional skills as well. And last but not least, again, I've got to end on someone who is, a giant of the tech industry. If you've never had the opportunity to watch Steve Jobs's 1995 commencement speech at Stanford, I think it's kind of funny that what I shared today was about Stanford and AI. Go and watch this. I've got the link there, and bit of advice from another guy who's been awfully successful in the tech industry. And I'll wrap with that tale.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Thank you so much. I mean, that's really very good. I want to go back to three things and some sort of double click those three things before I pass the mic to Arinze. Um, and Arinze can do the session the way you like to do it, any way you like it. Number one thing that Paul said that some sort of struck me is networking the old-fashioned way. You know, that I think is one of the things that you really want to learn if you are in this industry. If you're in the tech industry and you want to go very fast and rise, you have to realize that everyone is on LinkedIn, everyone is on Instagram, everyone is on Twitter. But if you can take people out of those technology platforms and get to connect with people personally, you would realize that they will cherish that for the rest of their lives because they don't get a lot of that every time. You know, I've got a friend that lives very close to me here, and this guy would call me on Friday night and say, "Hey, Tayo, do you want to go out?" You know, I'm always looking forward to his call. Always looking forward to his call because I'm always on my laptop anyway. So if you can get me out of my laptop, you are a friend that I would forever want to keep. So remember that. Remember that. Number two is business is all about connection. Careers is about connection. When I was working with Creative DC, one of the things I realized is that the I don't want to call them losers. I think that's a very horrible word to call it. But the small players always leave the office by 6. The big players leave by 7, 7:30. But the great players always go out of the office to continue networking outside the four walls of the office. So the small players will leave by 6, right? The good players, the big players will leave by 7, 7:30, connecting within the four walls of the office. But the best decisions are made out of the four walls of the office. The executive decisions are made, during the happy hours. That's when people talk about the project. So never forget that, guys. Never forget that. Don't be among those that close by 6 and you carry your laptop, you want to go home. You know, Connect and build relationship. Then the 6 degree networking model that Paul talks about, I think I also enjoy that. But remember, guys, be a giver, not just a taker. Yeah, that is the biggest disorder, in the tech industry. Everyone wants a connection. Everyone wants a relationship. Everyone wants me, oh, connect me to your investor. Can you connect me to this? Can you connect me to that? Like, how are you helping me? I need help. If I'm helping you, you better help me. You better help me. And I think that a lot of people need help, but don't always be in the position where you're always asking for help. Always volunteer. Hey, what can I help you with? What are you working on? what are the one or two introductions that you like always help? And I really enjoy that, Paul. And I think we're setting out for another great one with Arise. Paul, thank you so much. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Arise, I want to have you. Arise is a senior product person, a business analyst, one of the OGs in the tech space, the OGs in the tech space. Arise, over to you.
Thank you very much, Aitayo. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. That was a very interesting session. Yeah, I was just typing away, yeah, because there was a lot to learn from that one, especially the old school networking, as I said. Tayo also, sort of shed more light on it to say that some people leave very early. I'm actually the late leaver from the office. I am the guy who plays football every Friday with my colleagues. I catch up at the pub, call that pub, yeah, yeah, and a lot of things that I do just to make sure that we build that right connection, attend events and seminars and all that. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'll just share my screen in a minute so we can jump on. Um, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, okay. Okay. Brilliant. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you very much once again. I'm so excited to be here, to be in the midst of all of us to walk us through this journey. Thankfully, we started with Paul, who has a lot of experience in the area. Thank you so much once again. So today we're going to be looking at, the topic for today, learning the right positioning for jobs beyond the basics. The key part of this topic for me here is basics. It's actually it's actually these basics that, a lot of us think we need to do some things to actually climb. We need to do, the very easy thing. A lot of us would say, oh, pursue all the skills, get all the certifications and all that, but the old and age-long saying, jack of all trades is a master of none, actually plays a huge part in how you position yourself. So skills are important, don't get me wrong, but you also need to be strategic around it. So the objectives for today, at the end of the class or this session, we should understand what right positioning means beyond basic skills and certificates. We should also learn practical ways to stand out and move into advanced or global roles, and leave with clear actionable steps to reposition your or my career immediately. So a bit of a background around myself. This is my professional journey. So currently I work with Barclays, Barclays Bank. It's a global bank headquartered here in the United Kingdom. Um, Earlier on in my career, I started off as a product analyst. It wasn't really an easy journey coming from grad roles, studying civil engineering and switching into tech. It wasn't really that easy to actually move into that field, but um, started off as product analyst, grew across industries, banking, fintech, and tech sectors, and I've now moved into global level work, also co-founding a global digital software company that has also developed solutions at the global scale. So, what is positioning? So positioning is, simply put, it's actually what comes to the mind of people when they think of you. It talks about, what do people feel you can handle? What do people feel about you when they see your name or when they see your picture or something? So it looks at these three areas. There are more areas it looks at, but I've just picked out these three areas. It looks at how does the market perceive you? So a lot of us just go into the market with, you see some profiles on LinkedIn, you see, business analyst, teacher, software developer, they're all over the place. So how does the market perceive you? What projects have you done? What is that niche that you've actually carved out for yourself? Where do you think you can actually show yourself, showcase yourself at the highest level? It also looks at what are the problems people trust you to solve. So can people trust you to solve complex problems just by seeing your profile or just by seeing your name or something? What do people trust you to solve? And what's your professional signal? So a weak signal, for instance, could be um, I'm a hard worker, I'm passionate about what I do. That's a weak signal. We need strong signals to say, I've led complex projects, I've matched business needs with um, technological outcomes, digital transformation, and all that. So we need those strong signals to actually showcase what you do and what you actually stand for. So the market perception actually talks about what reputation and image do you project. So what image do you actually project out there on LinkedIn, even the old school networking? What sort of image do you project? What specific value do you deliver? And what message do you send consistently? So these are the areas that positioning looks at. Some of the areas, it actually is all encompassing, but these are just three areas. So I've also gone positioning beyond basic skills. So there's an old thinking and there's also a new thinking way. So the old thinking says get more certificates. Everyone is pursuing certificates. You know, you want to have all the certificates in the world, whether it's relevant to your space or not. Some people are in software development, for instance, or even as business analysts, but they're going out there. They're not even in cloud solutions, but they want to get certified on cloud solutions. So you need to be strategic around getting your certificate. Sorry. The old thinking also says do what your job description says. So for some people, it's all about, you know, I'm not going to go beyond this. I'm just going to do what my job description says. And that is actually very harmful because you're not learning new skills. That's the truth of it. Like you're not learning new skills. The more roles you take on, the more skills and the more development you also gain for yourself. So that has helped me in my career. Other people also say wait to be promoted. Some people actually play the long game. The first question they ask anytime they get into a company is, how long does it take to get into the next level? Because they just want to go for that, you know, stay at that lowest level and just wait, play the waiting game to get promoted. Others also say they focus on the tools and the tasks. You know, you just focus on your task. You don't want to understand how the business works, how your little role affects the bigger picture, the organization, the industry, and other departments in your company. Some other people also go, hope my work speaks for itself. Your work will never speak for itself. So there's actually this saying that I always say, merit, sorry, networking takes you from where merit stops. Networking and merit actually takes you from where merit alone stops. So yes, you need merit to get in the door, but you also need networking and, you know, showing yourself out there to get to the next level. Others also go, skills and hard work will speak for me. It's also not enough. So the new thinking way says build skills that solve real problems. Sorry, I just moved it to the side. Build skills that solve real problems. So you need to build skills that solve real problems, not just skills for skills' sake. You need to identify problems and solve these skills. And it's not a big deal. There are problems everywhere. Problems exist everywhere. Even in whatever you do, every single country almost faces the same problems. But the difference is the dynamics and the country details that you have to put into that. So look around you. There's always a problem in your organization, in whatever you're doing. Build the right skills to solve real problems. The next one is understand the business, not just the task. So as I said in the earlier one, a lot of people just want to understand, what am I to do? It's not just about that. It should go beyond that. How does my task affect and impact the entire organization? How does it impact the wider picture? Also, take ownership beyond your role. You need to go a step further. You need to go a step further. Focus on outcomes and impact. So a lot of us focus on the wrong things. We actually don't want to see, okay, what I'm doing? What will it lead to? What will this result in? How will it make business easy? How will it make things easier for the users? How will it make the outcomes better? Is it going to improve revenue? Is it going to drive customer engagement and all that? So how is it going to reflect on the final output? So also be intentional about visibility and credibility. This is a part that people don't really get to talk about much. Tayo has, shed more light on this. Paul also dropped hints on this part of it. You always have to be intentional about being visible. It's not just enough about doing your job and, sitting idly. You have to show people, this is what I've done. This is the project that I've worked on. These are the people that I've worked with, and put it out there and engage with people. Be on those seminars, get in touch with people, and build that networking skill. Skills need context, advocates, and visibility. So yes, your skills actually need context. It's not just enough to say, yes, I have these skills. There should be something more to it. So, why do many professionals get stuck? So we're going to walk through these points. So a lot of professionals actually wait to be noticed. And this is one thing I've seen in everywhere I've worked in. A lot of people just sit back and they just want to be noticed. Initially, when I joined Barclays about 3 years ago, it was also like everyone was just waiting to just be noticed and all that. No one was actually trying to get there and do things and show what they've done. But for me, I looked around and there were some challenges that I could solve. And by solving those challenges and actually showcasing those challenges, that was how I was able to build my career growth. So some people expect recognition without proactive efforts. No one's going to come and tell you, oh, good job for doing what you should be expected to do. I mean, it's in your job description. So why would we pat you on the back to say, yes, good work for what you're doing? So, but what should you do instead? Share progress and outcomes early, speak up in meetings, and ask for feedback and next level responsibilities. So you always need to ask for feedback and next level responsibilities. So some people in meetings, they would say, oh, we have this problem. Who can handle this problem? And a lot of people sit back, take their hands down and all that. But you should be out there to say, yes, I think I'll take on this responsibility. And I'll tell you the benefit of that because it's also an opportunity for you to learn. You learn new skills, you learn, you get to meet new people because you're not going to be working alone. You're working with new stakeholders and you form that sort of network, that mentorship and all that, where you gain these skills and take advantage of the whole situation. So others actually do tasks without context. So when you do things without, you just want to do something, it's also not about just, doing anything. You have to be strategic about what you do. You need to execute work that has a strategic purpose. What is a strategic purpose? And you need to execute the work that has that strategic purpose. So, sorry, yeah, I keep scrolling. So ask why the task exists. So for some people, I've been in roles where, we just the brief is clear, just do things, run with it and carry on, but along the line you encounter challenges and setbacks. So what do you do beyond that? You go back to understand what success should actually look like. And the beauty of understanding what success should look like is that you have a holistic view of what you're doing and it guides you clearly in what you should do. So you also understand how your work connects to the bigger picture. So your work should actually have a meaning. So others also don't have any clear narrative. There is no compelling career story. Your story is just, it's not framed around what you've achieved or what you've helped to solve, what problems you've helped to solve. So you need a compelling career story. You need something that people can look at and say, yes, this actually has a very clear narrative. And there's also no proof of impact. That's the last one. So documenting your outcomes and communicating your outcomes. So it's not just about documenting. You need to document and show people what you've done. So state the problem, state the action and the result, and use simple metrics where applicable. Show ownership, not participation. So in this category, I'm sure a lot of us have in university or something where we've been part of groups and project groups, for instance, where people just sit back and they're just group members, but they've never really taken ownership of anything. So this part talks about you being, owning something, not just about being, yes, I was part of the team. No, you shouldn't be part of the team. You should say, this is what I handled. It's not just enough to be part of the team. You should have something you handled within that team. So the next one is key positioning strategies. So what strategies do we apply in positioning ourselves in our professional careers? So you have to move from tasks to outcomes. So it's not just about, this is what I have to do. I'm not going to go beyond that. I'll just stick on this, nothing else. You have to shift your focus from completing tasks to delivering measurable business results and outcomes. So the next one is build depth in problem solving. So yes, you have to build depth in problem solving. Some people just solve problems on the surface. I work in data where I develop machine learning and data foundational data products and machine learning models with advanced predictive capabilities. Sorry. So, and working in data actually means that we do what we call the deep dives. So sometimes you get these feel-good data that just comes in. I call that vanity metrics. So you get these vanity metrics. What do you do with vanity metrics? You always have to drill down. So you need to solve problems, go deeper into problems, build depth in your problem solving, not just about the shallow surface or something. Go deep down. And by doing that, you're actually solving a holistic sort of problem, not just, bits and pieces here and there. So also be intentional about growth. This is a very key part. You always need to actively plan your development rather than passive experience. So what I do basically, sometimes I just sit back and say, okay, I need to strategize on what I need to do. Next year, I'm going for these skills, I'm going for these certifications, I'm going for these courses. I'm also going for these events, you see. So you have these events, you say, okay, I'm trying to meet these people, I'm trying to meet these industry leaders and all that. So be intentional about what you have to do. It shouldn't happen by chance. It shouldn't just be something that, happens by chance. Be very intentional about it and build strategic relationships. I can't stress further on this one. We've already flogged this one a lot today. You need to build strategic relationships. So it's not just about job openings. A lot of people build relationships because of jobs. The first thing you tell, an industry leader is, oh, are there openings and all that? No, connect with people with shared problems. It's not just about it's about the givers and takers thing, Paul and Tayo also mentioned. It's not about you taking, you also need to give. So what can you do? How can you help and all that? So connect with people around shared problems, interests, and learning, not just around, what job can you offer me and all that. Yeah. So skills that matter beyond the basics. So what skills matter beyond the basics? As I said, a lot of people just go for skills without really aligning those skills to their career growth plans and all that. So, but in all of this, there are actually some foundational skills that you need to grow, to develop. So critical thinking is one of them. So, and it helps you to analyze complex problems, challenge assumptions, and provide strategic insights rather than surface level solutions. So being a senior business analyst and product manager, sometimes you get these briefs and these tasks and all that, and you just want to run with it. But you also need to look at it holistically. You challenge these assumptions, you go deeper, you investigate deeper, and you'll even realize that there are more problems down the line, and this will help you to solve a bigger problem, not just bits and pieces. So you also need to develop your communication and influence skills. As Tayo and Paul have said, you always need to learn how to communicate. Emotional intelligence, it tells you about self-awareness, and you need to know how to explain ideas clearly to different audiences and influence without authority. So a lot of people, we don't even know how to communicate. So, and 55% of communication is actually by body language. Um, yeah, so 38% is actually your tone of voice. Sorry, 5% is actually your tone of voice, 55% is body language, and the other 38% is actually you being there in physical presence. So your body language, everything has to be put into communication. Your body language needs to know how to communicate, and you should also understand that your audiences are different. So if you have technical audiences, if you have non-technical audiences, you always need to know how to relate with all of them. Also, when you meet business leaders, you also need to think like business leaders. In Nigeria, we say if you want to kill a rat, you need to think like a rat to, yeah, so things like that. So it makes you very adaptable to various people and various situations. So data-driven decision making. Sometimes we make decisions based on emotions. We say, oh, yes, people are doing this, let's all jump into it. have you really used metrics and insights to support that decision? So you always need to use metrics and insight to support decisions before jumping, not based on emotions or feelings. So there should be some critical data that should drive whatever decision-making process that you're undertaking. So systems thinking. So think system-wise. You need to understand the different parts of a process and how organizations connect. So it's not just about what you do, basically. A computer, for example, you have your mouse and you have your monitor and all that. You need to understand how the mouse integrates with the monitor and everything. It's not just about having the mouse on its own. So you need to look at the bigger picture and all that. Then problem framing, how do you define the real problem? You shouldn't just respond to tasks. You should actually define problems. And further down the line, we are going to dwell more on this because this is very important, especially when it comes to taking you from an executor to an owner. You need to own problems, not just execute problems. You need to own problems. Owning problems make you say things the bigger way. So personal branding and visibility. So at the bottom here, I have a food for thought. Also on the other pages, I also have foods for thought. I'm sure. So don't blame Tayo for not serving refreshments today. Yeah. So personal branding is not self-promotion. It is about being known for something specific. So a lot of people think personal branding is, self-promotion. Sometimes people actually talk you down from personal branding, but it shouldn't be. It's actually about being known for something specific. So how do you build a personal brand and visibility? So LinkedIn presence, maintain an active profile, showcasing expertise and achievements. I'm going to go beyond LinkedIn process while it's not here, presence, sorry. I'll just add the old school networking stuff, Paul and Tayo have talked about. So also go out there, don't be an early leaver. Stay till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock or something. Hang out with the boys, hang out with the girls, learn what you need to learn and build that networking skill, build that connection. So share insights, not noise. It's actually, will I say pathetic what's happening in recent times on LinkedIn. So everyone has turned to, it's more like a place where motivational speakers are running riots. Everyone's just, dropping motivations, and AI chat GPT hasn't really helped. Yeah, because they just go there, put in a prompt and come on LinkedIn and just dump it on LinkedIn. Yeah. So it's actually very sad. So contribute thoughtful perspectives, articles, and commentary. Don't just flow with the noise. Don't just flow with, what's trendy and all that. Carve out that niche for yourself. Let what you're contributing actually be impactful, not, just based on noise and all that. Yeah. Then storytelling. Turn experiences into clear, relatable stories that show growth, judgment, and impact, not just activity. So a lot of people are in this activity phase. Every single thing we do is on activity. Even in your CVs, down to your CVs, it's all about I participated, I supported, I played a key. No. What impact did it lead to? How did your judgment actually help that situation? That is what people need to know. So when you get out there, when you're building that network, when you're building that connection, people need to know what are the relatable stories that you have that show growth, judgment, and impact, not just activities, not just saying, I was part of the team that did this. What was your input in that? Yeah. Then be visible for the right things. Ensure visibility aligns with your positioning goals. We can't overflog this one again. So now we have the do's and don'ts of personal branding and visibility. So pick an area or two you want to be known for. Again, this is very important. A lot of people, you're neither here nor there. You're a product manager today, tomorrow you're a software tester, tomorrow you're pick something, be known for one or two areas. It's not bad to actually be both, but a lot of people are just running around everywhere. But just pick an area you want to be in. If it's tech marketing, if it's sales marketing, if it's, you can also merge that with your technical skills in tech and all that. Then write or speak about what you're learning in that space. So again, on LinkedIn, it's pathetic these days. A lot of people just write, everything they need to write, but let it be about what you're learning in that space. use LinkedIn to document growth, not perfection. So a lot of people actually, this hurts a lot of people because some people, when you're typing a message, you just start typing and something just tells you, oh, it's not perfect, delete it, and you just go back to bed. So LinkedIn should actually be used to document growth. And going from step one to step two is also growth, as much as going from step one to 100 is growth. Yeah. So whatever growth you have, use LinkedIn to, document that. You shouldn't wait for perfection. You shouldn't wait for when you've, jumped from an entry level role to a director, for instance. Any little growth, document it on LinkedIn. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, not motivational. Yeah, stuff. Then share lessons learned from real work and projects. Yeah, so you need to share lessons learned from real work and projects. I've also seen a lot of people, on LinkedIn come up with some sandbox environment sort of projects and all that. It's also good, but you should also share lessons learned from real work and project because real work actually deals with real scenarios and real situations. So it's not like a fictional sort of thing. Yeah. So be consistent. We can't stress this enough. Always keep pushing. Always keep pushing. Then explain how you think, not what you do. People need to understand your thinking process. It's not just about what you did, it's about what you thought about, how you solved that problem. So the don'ts trying to look like an expert in everything. No, you shouldn't. You can't be an expert in everything. So you can't be just, it goes back to the first point of the do's. Pick an area or two you want to be known for. You can't know everything. Then don't copy trends, of course. Don't post without a clear point of view. Don't share motivational quotes. Well, for this one, I would say yes, your story can also be motivational, but it shouldn't be about, just going on ChatGPT and copying a motivational tweet or something. Yeah. So just post. Your story should actually motivate and inspire people. And don't be loud. Don't confuse noise with visibility. So a lot of people confuse noise with visibility. Every day you want to post, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. It's also not every time, even when you go the old school way, you also need to read the room. You also need to learn to read the room. So if you have, if you're getting to meet with some industry leaders, you need to understand how to read the room. So projects, impact, and proof. So you need to showcase real projects. Showcase projects you have done in real organizations, teams, or communities. Again, why I added teams and communities is that a lot of us wait until we work for real or big organizations or something. No, whatever we do in our little community, whatever we do, as Paul said, it's not about just thinking local or something, or thinking global. Local also helps. Yeah, you can also make something out of your immediate community. So showcase projects with real constraints, stakeholders, and consequences. Again, this goes back to the sandbox environment thing I talked about. So sandboxes, yeah, it helps you to gain these skills and all that, but it doesn't really have these real situations around it. Yeah. So real projects have real constraints, real stakeholders, and real consequences. And it actually makes you demonstrate those skills on problem solving. Then talk about the problems that matter to someone beyond you. Measurable outcomes. What changed because the project was executed in terms of time saved, errors reduced, lower cost? So this is about the bigger picture. So what's changed because the project was executed? So it shouldn't just be about, just doing something. It should have a measurable outcome. And this is the measurable outcome. This is what you show that, yes, I did this, I played a part in this, and this is what it led to. Then clear contribution. What did you personally own? Again, it's not about I was part of the team that did this, I was part of the team that did that. What is it that you personally owned? So being part of a team is not enough. You also need to say, yes, this is what I did. What decisions did you influence? What impacts did you make? And what changed because you were there? So again, it's not just about being a team player. You have to be a team player, but you also need to own your own tasks and all that. Yeah. So moving from execution to ownership, my personal experience. So I worked on a project where, the brief was clear. This is actually my personal story. So it was a customer onboarding process, and the brief was clear. It was, gather requirements, work with the engineering team, and make sure that there's a successful product launch. But then requirements kept changing along the line, and it became worrisome. Of course, I could keep rolling with what I was doing, but at the end of the day, I went deeper to understand what was going on, and by investigating my investigations led me to understand to see the bigger picture of the problems. So it wasn't just an onboarding process. It was also about, how these customers were managed and all that. Yeah. So the result of this was that there was a holistic approach in how we solved this problem. So we didn't just solve an onboarding problem, we also solved a retention problem. We're able to manage the churn, the retention problems and all that. Yeah. So it's not just about execution. You need to own what you're doing. So a lot of us could easily just relax. When this project just comes in, we could just say, oh, yes, the brief actually says just do this, do that. But what happens when there are setbacks? How do you own this problem and all that? So you see that this simple thing has moved me from, just being an executor to an owner, because I owned the problem, I understood the bigger picture, and I went to solve that problem. So focus on writing. Yeah, my focus initially on execution was on writing stories and tracking delivery. I was also reactive to changing requirements. That was the initial brief. And success was measured by having a shippable feature, but success should actually be measured by reduced risks and faster onboarding. So I was also waiting for clarity from stakeholders, but by owning it, I created clarity for stakeholders and engineers. So that's actually the difference. So move from executor to owner. It's not just about being, in execution mode. You need to go beyond, and that way your work will speak for you. That way your work will speak for you. So challenges I faced from the project. I also, from my personal career, sorry, I've had self-doubt. Of course, when you want to, own something, you have self-doubt. You question whether you're truly capable. Even imposter syndrome. Can I do this? Are you really sure I can do this? Yeah, you have that doubt. Then there's learning curves. You have the steep learning when moving to unfamiliar domains, and rejections. Yeah, you also face rejections and setbacks. So I'll just rush it up a bit. Yeah. So action steps. So audit your positioning, review how you present yourself, highlight strategic contributions, not just listing tasks, and update your resume. So all that we need to actually showcase ourselves as doers, as owners, not just executors. So rewrite your CV for impact. So you need to replace task descriptions with outcome-focused bullet points. Of course, whatever you do should have an outcome, and it should also have quantifiable achievements. Start building visibility. So one insight a month, this month, comment on industry trends, not just noise. Don't just, go and copy anything from AI and paste it out on LinkedIn and all that. Yeah. Then build intentional relationships, sorry. Connect with people doing work you want to grow into. It's not just about attending any event. Some people just, it's happening in London, let's go. Manchester, let's go. No, you need to be strategic. Is it in an area you want to grow into? Then preparing for global advanced roles, think globally, understand international markets, work with diverse teams, and expand beyond local constraints. So yes, think globally, assume that global position. Stop seeing your experience as local. Exactly. Stop seeing your experience as local. So all these problems exist everywhere. It's just that, you need to learn how to use your experience and your skills to actually solve these problems, and learn how your work connects to global standards and practices. Build transferable skills. So transferable skills are actually skills that travel with you anywhere. If you're in London, they go with you to London. If you're in India, they go with you to India. So that's the essence of transferable skills. Develop skills that, work across industries and geographies. So communication, critical thinking, analytical thinking, these are critical transferable skills that you need to develop. Learn how global teams work. Understand different work cultures. Every country is not the same. There are country dynamics that you need to understand. So I'm also a founder for a a ride-hailing, customizable ride-hailing solution. And we developed this for various cities, India, France, Italy, and we're also bringing it to some parts of Europe, especially Scotland and England, sorry, especially Scotland. And, you know, we always need to understand how these countries operate. What are the regulations in these countries? How do the people actually think? So you need to learn how global teams work. You need to understand different work cultures. You need to understand what goes on in every other place that you're going into. So it's actually about deeper analysis. It's not just about surface level or emotions. It has to be driven by data and real stuff. So key takeaways, we are coming to the end. Your career progression is not random. It is the deliberate positioning. It is the result of deliberate positioning, strategic skill development, and consistent proof of impact. These three principles form the foundation of advancement beyond entry-level roles. So positioning is intentional, actively shape how the market perceives you. We can't talk about this enough. Growth is strategic, plan your development, and don't just react to opportunities. So you always have to be strategic about and proactive. It's not just about being reactive. And proof beats potential. Demonstrate results, not just capability. So again, this talks about real projects you've worked on. It's not just about how capable you are. You need to show that, yes, I've done it, I've been there, this was my thought process, and this was the outcome. So that's the end of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was quite a long one. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Um,
That was really, really good, Arinze. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you so much.
That was a
Thank you
good
so much.
lecture.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
lecture. Thank you so much, Ariza. That was beautiful. Again, I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself. You need to know how your work actually affects the business. You know, just that knowledge alone would help you to begin to think more strategic. You know, because when people come to me and they say, Tayo, people talk about strategic thinking. I said strategic thinking means really three things, but one of the most important is knowing how the activities that you do today connect to the bigger picture. That is one of the last things that which changes your career, you know, and you can't be in a business without knowing how the business works because you're hired in sales and then you focus only on sales. You don't understand the fuel that drives the other part of the engine. You know, you need to understand how the other engine works because that is how you become a leader. You know, visibility. I used to tell my team that you just have to be visible. You need to be seen. You need to be seen by everyone, you know. Don't just wait to be noticed. Don't ever believe that your work is going to speak for you. That is an old adage. You know, we are now in a new reality that people actually spend a lot of money for their work to speak, you know, because the work wouldn't speak without you pushing it. You know, of course, you've got excellence anyway, you've got content, you've got capacity, but you also need to understand that your work needs to speak. You need to help your work to speak. Be intentional about your growth. You need to plan the next 1 year, like I have on my board here, because while Ariza was talking about planning the next 1 year, and I just looked at my board here. I have got a board here that talks about stabilizing because everyone in my on my team thinks I'm very chaotic. So I'm going into 2026. I want to be much more stable. I've got on my board, once I'm stable, how I then want to push them into another level of chaos, you know. But one of the things I had planned to do was to build the team and the mid-level managers so that when I push them into another level of chaos, they are strong. I mean, you just have to plan your year. You know, you need to plan the year. And I really love that. I love that. I love that. Stop seeing your experience as local. You know, you need to understand that. I won't go into that. Then think really big. You remember where we started from? We started from you need to understand that life is about networking, but don't just think that networking is virtual and digital. People are bored. You know, people are bored. People want to get out of their phones. So I mean, I understand that principle and it's really changed my life. I would organize, house party. I'll go catch up with a partner in any location, just getting out and doing it the old-fashioned way. Paul talked about that. And Paul also went on to talk about the most important lesson that I want us to leave this session with. Remember, be a giver, please. Be a giver, not just a taker. Be a giver. You would be shocked. You would be shocked how much help people need and how far they can push you if you just make yourself available to give. And giving can be as simple as checking up on people, checking up on people, sending emails, just saying, hey, how can I help you? Oh, boss, I saw something on your status. When is the event? I've got a good graphic designer. I do that for my mentors anyway. When I see them design horrible things, I'm like, oh no, no, I don't like that. Take that down. Then I find my designer to like do it for them. And see, guys, just be a giver. And this is how we're going to end this session. I'm not going to sell anything to you about Utiva, right? Just remember, at the end of the day, what we do here primarily is just this, helping ourselves to learn so that we can all get better in whatever we want to do. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. Remember, the both of them emphasized that it's not always about the technicality. So it doesn't matter if you choose software engineering or you choose data science or data analytics, or you choose business analysis, or you say product and digital marketing, UI, UX design. You come to learn all the skills at Utiva, but, the skills would be about 30% of the equation. The 70%, that would make the real difference are the things that they've talked about. So please, guys, let's go hard in 2026. I was telling someone that 2026 was an amazing year. Now, listen, 2026 was an amazing year. Now, we say 2026 was an amazing year because we are by faith. We've lived 2026. We speak to things that don't exist as though they were, like in 2026, I'm a man of faith. That year will not push me into doubt. I want to live by faith in 2026. We're going to do so many big things in 2026. And again, Arinze, thank you for joining us. Paul, thank you for joining us. This is where we close the session. Have a beautiful evening. Regardless of where you're joining from, enjoy your weekend. Have a beautiful evening and Merry
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Yeah,
thank you,
Merry
Irene.
Christmas all. Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
I go smoke that ganja until I go blind.
Say what?
People say I take ganja all the time. Pass me the ganja, give me brown Rizla. Pass me the ganja, let me up so high. Take me over the clouds so high. Fly me up, oh, up so high. Till I find myself talking with the most high.
Let's go.
Some things in me, I don't demand.
Who's getting that bread? Who's getting that money? Say. Where my sexy ladies? What? love it tonight.
You're deserving of the love you want.
Steady, steady.
Independently.
Gradually, baby.
And I go love you specially. All the love, all the care.
Say.
And the fake love. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I go love you.
Say.
All the love, all the care. Them the fake love.
Somebody watch the mix. Alternate sound, DJ Biggin. Here we go.
Number one.
It's a vibe. Somebody bounce.